There is a silent, invisible ceiling that has settled over the Canadian landscape, from the glass towers of Toronto to the rainy streets of Vancouver. You feel it every time you tap your card at a terminal, every time you check your bank balance after rent, and every time you look at a house price that seems to defy the laws of physics. But here is the shadow fact that no politician wants to acknowledge. The Canadian middle class didn't just shrink. It was mathematically phased out. We are living through a period where working 40 hours a week, once the ticket to a stable life with a white picket fence, is now a struggle for basic subsistence. The gap between what we earn and what it costs to simply exist has become a chasm. While the headline numbers talk about a resilient economy, the reality on the ground is a visceral sense of falling behind, no matter how fast you run. This isn't just about inflation. It's about a fundamental restructuring of our society. The old rules are dead. If you're still playing by the 1990s playbook of save 10% and buy a home, you are walking into a trap. But what is the real mechanism behind this decay? And why does it feel like the harder you work, the less you have to show for it? We are about to pull back the curtain on the Great Canadian Reset.
To understand where we are going, we have to look at the fuel that ran the engine for 20 years: cheap debt. For 2 decades, Canadians were told that debt was a tool, not a burden. We became the most indebted nation in the G7, not because we were reckless, but because we were forced to be. To buy into the Canadian dream, you had to leverage your entire future. Now, the Bank of Canada has slammed on the brakes. As interest rates climbed to heights not seen in a generation, that mountain of debt turned into a ticking time bomb. Every 0.25% hike was a direct hit to the disposable income of families from Calgary to Halifax. We are now approaching the mortgage cliff, a period where hundreds of billions of dollars in mortgages signed during the era of rock-bottom rates are set to renew at double or triple the cost. This isn't just a financial statistic. It's the sound of thousands of dreams shattering simultaneously. People who did everything right are now facing monthly payments that exceed their take-home pay. The question isn't if the bubble will pop, but who will be left standing when the dust settles. The shadow fact here is that the system relied on you staying in debt forever, but they never told you what happens when the cost of that debt becomes unsustainable. Let's talk about the GDP lie. You hear it on the news. Canada's GDP is growing. But if the economy is growing, why do you feel poorer? The secret lies in GDP per capita. While the total size of the pie might be getting slightly larger due to massive population growth, the individual slice for the average Canadian is actually shrinking. We are experiencing a standard of living recession that is being masked by headline numbers. We are bringing more people into a house that is already on fire, without building more rooms or increasing the size of the kitchen. This creates a hyper-competitive environment for the few resources left: housing, healthcare, and well-paying jobs. The middle class is being squeezed from both ends: stagnant wages that haven't kept pace with the cost of living, and an influx of competition for entry-level and mid-level roles. When you walk through a Loblaws and see the price of a single head of lettuce, you aren't just seeing inflation. You're seeing the result of a concentrated market where the consumer has no leverage. The Canadian economy has become a series of protected monopolies and oligopolies that prioritize shareholder dividends over the survival of the average citizen. And the most terrifying part? This is exactly how the system was designed to function in a low-growth environment.
The Bank of Canada is walking a tightrope over a canyon of its own making. Tiff Macklem and his colleagues are trying to fight inflation without triggering a total collapse of the housing market, but these two goals are diametrically opposed. To kill inflation, they must kill spending. To kill spending, they must make you feel the pain. This is the visceral reality of monetary policy. It is a blunt instrument designed to cause enough suffering that people stop buying things. But in Canada, we don't just buy things, we buy survival. You can't stop buying heat in a Canadian winter. You can't stop buying gas to drive to a job that's 50 kilometers away because you were priced out of the city. This means the pain the Bank of Canada wants to inflict falls disproportionately on the working class and the disappearing middle.
Meanwhile, the ultra-wealthy, who hold their assets in stocks and real estate without high leverage, are watching their net worth skyrocket. We are seeing a massive wealth transfer from the hands of the many to the pockets of the few, all under the guise of stabilizing the currency. But as the loonie loses its purchasing power on the global stage, your hard-earned savings are being devalued faster than you can replenish them. The loop is closing, and the next scene in this drama is even more localized. Nowhere is the pain more evident than in the Canadian housing market, a monolith that has consumed our entire national identity. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, the average home price has become a mathematical impossibility for anyone earning a local salary. We have transitioned from a nation of homeowners to a nation of rent seekers and rent payers. The dream of ownership has been replaced by the nightmare of the forever renter. Even in once affordable hubs like London, Ontario, or Halifax, the contagion has spread. Investors, both domestic and foreign, have treated our shelter as a speculative asset class, outbidding families who just want a place to raise their children. This has created a landed gentry class in Canada, those who bought before 2015 and those who will likely never own. The social contract is breaking. When a generation realizes that even with a master's degree and a six-figure income, they can only afford a 400-square-foot condo with a view of a brick wall, the incentive to participate in the hustle vanishes. We are seeing the quiet quitting of the Canadian economy. Why work 60 hours a week when the CRA takes a massive bite and the rest goes directly into the pocket of a landlord who bought the building for a fraction of its current value? The housing crisis is the primary engine of the wealth gap.
The GTA and GVA exodus is no longer a trend. It's a forced migration. Thousands of young professionals are fleeing the major hubs, searching for some semblance of affordability in the prairies or the East Coast. But as they move, they bring the price contagion with them. Small towns that used to be sanctuaries of low-cost living are seeing their rents double in 3 years. This is the gentrification of Canada. There is nowhere left to hide. The curiosity gap here is, where does it end? When every corner of the country is priced for a global elite, what happens to the people who keep the country running? The nurses, the teachers, the construction workers, they are being pushed further and further to the margins, resulting in massive labor shortages in the very places that need them most. We are building a country where the people who serve the coffee can't afford to live within 2 hours of the cafe. This geographic displacement is tearing the social fabric apart. Families are being separated by thousands of kilometers because the cost of staying together is simply too high. This isn't the Canada our parents built. It's a version of Canada that has been optimized for capital flow rather than human flourishing. The emotional toll of this migration is a weight that every young Canadian carries, a constant background noise of, should I stay or should I go?
Let's dive into the rental treadmill. For those who couldn't get onto the property ladder, life has become a precarious cycle of moving from one overpriced basement suite to another. Rent control in provinces like Ontario has become a double-edged sword, creating a lock-in effect where tenants are terrified to leave, even if their living conditions are substandard, because a new lease would cost 50% more. Landlords, squeezed by their own rising interest rates, are finding ways to rent-evict long-term tenants to reset the rent to market rates. This creates a state of constant anxiety. Your home, the one place you should feel secure, is subject to the whims of an economy that views you as a cash flow unit. The visceral pain of opening an N12 notice is something more and more Canadians are experiencing. It's the feeling of your roots being ripped out because your existence is no longer profitable enough for the person who owns the roof over your head. This instability prevents people from starting families, from investing in their communities, and from feeling a sense of belonging. We are creating a nomadic class of high-skilled workers who have no stake in the land they live on. When you have no stake in the future, your perspective changes. You stop looking at 10-year goals and start looking at how to survive the next 30 days. The mortgage cliff is the shadow that hangs over the next 24 months. Between 2024 and 2026, a staggering volume of Canadian mortgages will come up for renewal. Many of these were taken out in 2020 and 2021, when the Bank of Canada promised that rates would stay low for a long time. That promise was broken. Now families are looking at negative amortization, a situation where their monthly payments don't even cover the interest, and their debt actually grows every month.
The banks are trying to hide the problem by extending loan terms to 30, 40, or even 60 years, effectively turning homeowners into permanent tenants of the bank. But there is a limit to how far the rubber band can stretch. Eventually, the reality of the math must set in. This cliff represents the single greatest threat to Canadian household stability in our history. It is the moment when the paper wealth of the middle class evaporates. If home prices stagnate or drop while payments skyrocket, the equity that was supposed to fund your retirement vanishes. This is why the curiosity about what's next is so urgent. We are approaching a forced deleveraging event that will redefine who owns what in this country. The question is, will the government step in to save the banks or the people? History gives us a grim answer.
Switching gears to the daily grind, the grocery oligopoly. Canada is a land of massive distances and even more massive corporate concentration. A few key players control the vast majority of what we eat. When you walk down the aisles of a Loblaws or a Sobeys, you aren't just seeing the cost of food, you're seeing the cost of a lack of competition. The bread price fixing scandal was just a glimpse into the mindset of these giants. Today, it's shrinkflation. The cereal box is smaller, the price is higher, and the quality is lower. The visceral pain of spending $200 on 3 bags of groceries is a daily trauma for the Canadian family. It forces impossible choices. Do we buy fresh vegetables, or do we pay the heating bill? Do we get the brand name medicine, or do we hope the generic works just as well? This hunger isn't just physical, it's a hunger for fairness. The record profits being reported by these grocery chains while food bank usage hits all-time highs is a moral failure that the middle class can no longer ignore. It creates a deep-seated resentment, a feeling that the system is rigged against the very people who keep it running. The shadow fact here is that these companies have more power over your daily life than the government does, and they are using that power to extract every possible cent from your table.
Then there is the CRA tax bite. Canada is a high-tax jurisdiction, and in exchange, we are promised world-class services. But as you look around, you see a healthcare system in crisis, infrastructure that is crumbling, and a military that is underfunded. The average Canadian pays nearly 45% of their income in various taxes, when you account for income, sales, property, and carbon taxes. For the middle class, this is the productivity trap. If you work overtime to get ahead, a larger chunk of that extra effort is clawed back. It feels like you're running up a down escalator. The CRA is efficient at collecting from the person with a T4 slip, but the shadow fact is the billions lost to offshore tax havens and corporate loopholes that the average person can't access. This creates a sense of profound injustice. You are the one funding the system, but the system isn't working for you. When you wait 12 hours in an ER with a sick child, you realize that the social contract is being one-sided. You are fulfilling your end of the bargain, working hard and paying your share, but the services you're paying for are being hollowed out. This tax burden, combined with the cost of living, is the primary reason why getting ahead feels like a fantasy.
Inflation is often called the hidden tax, but in Canada, there's nothing hidden about it. It's a loud, screaming presence in every transaction. While the official CPI numbers might claim inflation is cooling, the reality at the gas pump and the utility bill tells a different story. The way inflation is calculated often excludes the most volatile and essential costs, like the actual price of housing. This creates a gaslighting effect. The government tells you things are getting better, but your bank account tells you things are getting worse. This disconnect leads to a loss of trust in institutions. When the people in charge say the economy is robust, but you can't afford to take a vacation for the 3rd year in a row, the gap between the rulers and the ruled becomes a canyon. We are seeing the debasement of the life in Canada. It's not just that things cost more, it's that the quality of life we were promised is being systematically downgraded. We are being told to accept less, to live in smaller spaces, to eat less meat, and to travel less, all while being told it's for the greater good or environmental sustainability. But the people giving these instructions aren't the ones making the sacrifices. This is the visceral reality of the new Canadian economy, a managed decline of the middle class. The death of the $100,000 salary is perhaps the most shocking realization for the modern Canadian professional. A decade ago, earning 6 figures was the ultimate milestone, the sign that you had made it. Today, in cities like Toronto, 100K is the new 40K. After taxes, a 100K salary nets you about 70K. Subtract 30K for a modest one-bedroom apartment, 10K for groceries, 5K for transport, and suddenly you're left with very little to save or invest. You are middle class on paper, but you are living a life of functional poverty. You are one car breakdown or one dental emergency away from disaster. This is the upper middle class trap. You earn too much to qualify for government subsidies, but too little to actually afford a life of dignity and ownership. This realization is causing a massive psychological shift. People are questioning the value of high-stress careers. If the reward for being a manager or an engineer is just a slightly better basement apartment, why do it? We are seeing a brain drain as our most talented people look at the math and realize their skills are worth more in the US or Europe. Canada is becoming a country that trains world-class talent only to export it because we've made it too expensive for them to stay.
The 40-hour burnout is a national epidemic. Canadians are working longer hours than many of our European counterparts, yet our productivity is stalling. Why? Because we are exhausted. We are commuting hours every day because we can't afford to live near our jobs. We are working side hustles on top of our full-time roles just to keep our heads above water. This constant state of fight or flight is destroying our health and our relationships. The visceral pain of coming home after a 10-hour day and realizing you still can't afford to take your spouse out for dinner is a soul-crushing experience. We have become a nation of grinders who have forgotten what we are grinding for. The curiosity gap here is, how long can a society function when its citizens are permanently exhausted and financially stressed? We are seeing the rise of mental health issues, the breakdown of the family unit, and a general sense of apathy. The hustle culture that was once seen as aspirational is now seen as a survival tactic. We aren't working to build a future. We are working to prevent a collapse. This shift from thriving to surviving is the most significant change in the Canadian psyche in the last 50 years, and it's only getting started.
Look closely at your grocery basket. Notice anything? It's not just the price, it's the shrinking basket. This is the physical manifestation of our declining purchasing power. We are buying less, choosing lower quality ingredients, and sacrificing nutrition for calories. This has long-term health implications that will put even more pressure on our already strained healthcare system. The shadow fact is that the cost of living is actually a cost of health. When the middle class can no longer afford to eat well, the entire foundation of the country begins to rot. We see it in the rising reliance on food banks, which were once meant for emergency relief, but are now a regular part of the budget for many working-class families. This is a visceral sign of a failing economy. A country that cannot feed its own workers while exporting billions in resources is a country with broken priorities. The frustration is boiling over. You see it in the boycotts of major retailers and the growing anger on social media. But these are just symptoms of the underlying disease, a system that has prioritized the efficiency of the supply chain over the resilience of the people. The next in our title refers to what happens when this frustration turns into action or despair.
The side hustle trap is the new Canadian norm. We are told to monetize our hobbies and become entrepreneurs, but the reality is that most side hustles are just a way to subsidize a failing primary income. Whether it's driving for Uber, delivering for Skip the Dishes, or selling things on Etsy, Canadians are working 60-70 hours a week across multiple platforms. This is the gigification of the middle class. We are losing the benefits, the stability, and the community of traditional employment. The shadow fact is that these hustles often pay less than minimum wage when you factor in expenses, taxes, and the wear and tear on your vehicle and mental health. But we do them because we have to. This precariousness is the opposite of the stability that once defined the Canadian middle class. We are moving toward a neo-feudal system where a few platform owners take a cut of every minute of your labor and you bear all the risk. The visceral pain of being online 24/7, waiting for the next gig just to pay the phone bill, is the reality for millions. This is not the freedom we were promised by the tech revolution. It is a new form of digital serfdom. And as the economy slows, the competition for these gigs will only intensify, driving wages even lower.
The wealth gap in Canada is no longer a gap, it's a chasm.
While the media focuses on the top 1%, the real divide is between those who own assets and those who don't. If you own a home in Toronto that you bought in 2005, your net worth has increased by over $1 million simply by existing. If you started your career in 2015, you are paying for that $1 million gain through your rent or a massive mortgage. This is a horizontal wealth transfer from the young to the old, from the renter to the owner. It is creating a society of inherited status. In the new Canada, your success is determined less by your talent or hard work and more by your parents' ability to provide a down payment. This is the death of meritocracy. The visceral feeling of knowing that no matter how hard you study or work, you will never catch up to the person who inherited a condo is a recipe for social unrest. The shadow fact is that this wealth gap is being fueled by government policy that protects asset prices at all costs. They cannot allow the housing market to fail because it is the only thing propping up our banking system. You are being sacrificed to save the balance sheets of the big 5 banks. As we look towards what's next, we see the shadow of the digital currency pivot. The Bank of Canada is actively researching a central bank digital currency, CBDC. While they frame it as convenience, the shadow fact is that a CBDC gives the government unprecedented control over your spending. Imagine a world where your money could have an expiry date to stimulate the economy, or where it could be restricted to certain types of purchases to meet climate goals. This is the ultimate tool for a government trying to manage a declining economy. In a world of digital currency, there is no exit from the system. Your ability to save, to invest, and to build a life outside the official narrative could be curtailed with a single line of code. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It is the logical conclusion of a monetary system that has run out of options. As the loonie continues to struggle, the push for digital modernization will become louder. The question you must ask is, are you ready for a world where your financial privacy is a thing of the past? This shift will be marketed as a solution to the very problems we've discussed, but it may just be the final nail in the coffin of individual financial sovereignty.
Automation and AI are the next great disruptors of the Canadian labor market. We already see self-checkout kiosks replacing grocery workers and AI agents replacing customer service roles. But the next phase is coming for the white-collar middle class. Legal researchers, junior accountants, and even software developers are seeing their roles transformed or eliminated by AI. For a country like Canada, which relies heavily on a high-skilled service economy, this is a seismic shift. The visceral pain of realizing that the degree you spent $50,000 on is being outperformed by a chatbot is a looming reality for many. The shadow fact is that the productivity gains from AI will likely accrue to the owners of the technology, not the workers. This will further widen the wealth gap we've already discussed. We are facing a future where there are fewer and fewer middle jobs. You will either be in the elite class that designs and owns the AI, or in the service class that performs the physical tasks that robots can't yet do, like cleaning or elder care. The middle class, which was built on administrative and professional labor, is in the crosshairs. Are you preparing for a world where your skill set might be obsolete in 5 years?
In this environment, your TFSA and RRSP are more than just savings accounts. They are your only lifeboats, but most Canadians are using them wrong. The TFSA mistake is treating it like a high-interest savings account for a rainy day, rather than an aggressive investment vehicle. In a world where the CRA takes half your income, the ability to grow wealth tax-free is the single greatest advantage you have. But you have to be in the right assets. Keeping your TFSA in cash while inflation is at 4 or 5% means you are losing money every single day. The shadow fact is that the government doesn't really want you to be financially independent. They want you to be a reliable taxpayer. By maximizing these vehicles and investing in global assets, not just the stagnant Canadian market, you can build a wall of protection around your family. The visceral relief of knowing you have a tax-free pile of capital is the only way to sleep at night in the new economy. But it requires a shift in mindset. You have to stop thinking like a saver and start thinking like an allocator. You are the CEO of your own household, and you need to deploy your capital where it is treated best, which often isn't within our own borders.
The new Canadian identity is being forged in the fires of this crisis. We used to be a nation defined by our shared prosperity and our politeness.
But as the struggle for resources intensifies, that politeness is wearing thin. We are becoming a more fractured, more anxious society. The visceral pain of seeing your neighborhood change from a place of community to a place of transient renters and vacant investment properties is real. But there is also a new resilience emerging. Canadians are becoming more financially literate out of necessity. We are seeing a surge in community-supported agriculture, co-housing initiatives, and alternative bartering systems. The shadow fact here is that when the formal economy fails people, they build their own. The next Canada might be more localized, more self-reliant, and more skeptical of central authority. This is the silver lining. The death of the old Canadian dream is making room for something more grounded in reality. We are rediscovering the value of self-sufficiency, but the transition will be painful. Are you ready to let go of the version of Canada you grew up with and embrace the one that is actually here?
So, what is the survival strategy? It begins with radical honesty. You must accept that the system is not coming to save you. Not the government, not the Bank of Canada, and not your employer. You must take full responsibility for your financial sovereignty. This means reducing high-interest debt at all costs, diversifying your income streams so you aren't reliant on a single T4, and investing in yourself to remain relevant in an AI-driven world. It also means being willing to make the hard move. If you are drowning in the GTA, maybe it's time to move to where you can actually breathe, even if it's outside of Canada. The visceral pain of leaving your home is nothing compared to the slow death of a life lived in debt slavery. The curiosity gap we started with, are you ready for what's next, can only be answered with action. The next is a bifurcated society. You must choose which side of the line you will be on. Will you be a victim of the reset, or will you be one of the few who saw it coming and positioned themselves to thrive? The tools are there, but the window of opportunity is closing. Every day you wait is a day the system extracts more of your future.
This is your final warning. The economy is not just changing fast, it is being rewritten in real time. The shadow fact we've explored, that the middle class is being phased out by design, is the most important thing you will hear this year. The mortgage cliff, the grocery oligopoly, and the CRA tax bite are not individual problems. They are parts of a single cohesive mechanism of wealth extraction. But knowledge is the first step to